Meta Perspective Podcast.
Go. Hello, and welcome to Meta Perspective Podcast. We're your host, Alex.
Evan.
We have Colleen working the motherboard today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, jump in the chat. We're going to go ahead and skip today's caller thing. For right now, we're going to focus on you guys jumping in, just being part of the conversation. Meta Perspective Podcast is not meta without your perspective. So, that being said, we'll go and jump into today's topic, which is...
What makes something timeless?
What makes something timeless?
It's kind of be a fun discussion. It's just kind of an idea we picked up. And, it's... I guess it started by... we were discussing how, you could just keep it adjusted. We were discussing how music and entertainment, television, things like that, there's not too much that's coming out now that's like really, I would say, is timeless. You got a lot of classic movies, classic songs, things like that have existed for, my whole lifetime, even before that, 30, 40 years or whatever.
But I think Colleen could touch on the movie thing in terms of like the movies that are coming out nowadays are not timeless. It's the same, like you were saying with music. Nothing nowadays that's being released in entertainment is timeless.
Yeah.
It's all cookie cutter, like the same old, this is what works, so we're going to keep doing it kind of thing.
Yeah, if it's
There's
not
no
a
original thought.
If it's not a remake or involves Kevin Hart or The Rock, then
Exactly.
Yeah, or now maybe like Chris. Well, they don't really like Chris Pratt anymore, but he's good in movies, so it makes some money.
Chris Pratt was big a few months ago.
I like Chris Pratt. I think he's a good actor.
Me too. I think he's funny.
I've heard people say they don't think he's a good actor. It's like, well, look at like Parks and Rec. And look at like, Jurassic Park and all that. Like, it's more of a serious movie. The guy's pretty dynamic,
Yeah, I think so.
It's a good cast.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Parks and Rec, he's a fumbling idiot. If you look at Jurassic World or whatever, he was a lot more serious and was in control over the experience he was a part of. And I read that in the movie. That was before I saw Parks and Rec. I was like, oh. I didn't even realize it was him until I saw Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
I was that guy.
Yeah.
Once I saw Parks and Rec, I was like, oh, this is the guy from... I didn't even realize that was the guy from Jurassic World because he was acting so silly and goofy.
Yeah.
I didn't see that. And to me, that's a good actor. When they can play a different part and you don't see the old actor in it. It took me a few episodes of watching him to go, oh.
Yeah.
To me, that's what makes you a good actor.
Guardians,
great.
That's great.
Unfortunately, Parks and Rec is what I saw first. But I agree that, like, watching him in such a goofy, silly role, seeing him carry himself into something else, you definitely see something in it. But I agree with what you're saying in terms of most movies nowadays are trash. Most movies nowadays are just remakes of good things that are made worse. My best example is Joe Dirt. Joe Dirt 2 was an absolute tragedy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was disgusting. I mean, we were talking about a movie that was timeless. That was a timeless movie.
Yeah.
It really was. And then they tried to destroy it by going, oh, there's a second one. What happens? Well, right in the beginning of the movie, he gets sucked into a tornado and goes back in time. You're like, wait, what? He goes back in time? They're like, yeah. And
basically just skip over that real quick.
Basically, he kind of relives all the same jokes from the original movie. And you're like, I'm not following you, but go on. They're like, and then it kind of just ends with kind of the same old, and then you just, we're not even going to acknowledge that the first movie ended with him, being refitted for his hairpiece. Instead of a mullet, now you have something more contemporary. It's braids. That was a big part of the end of the movie. It's like, we got you.
Of the first movie.
Yeah, because
that's right. He had cornrows.
Yes, the whole thing with Joe Dirt was the mullet that he had that grew with his bone because his skull was exposed. So they put the thing to cover it up because it was grossing everybody out. And then the bones intertwined. I don't mean to get all scientific, but they all grew together. And then he had the mullet. for his life. It was a wig that grew into his head. That's the point of Joe Dirt. So at the end of the movie, he jumped off the bridge on a bungee cord, came back up, hit his head, and got knocked out. When he woke up, they were like, hey, we're all your family. We're all surrounded. It was a happy end of the movie. By the way, instead of a mullet, we got you a new wig. Because your head got busted open when you fucking hit it on that bungee cord thing. So we got you a new wig. Now you got braids. So the second movie starts off with him with a mullet. And you're like, well, that's not how the movie ended. Well, that's okay, because there's a tornado and he's going to go back in time. And you're like, oh, this movie has nothing to do with anything. Great.
Yeah.
Great. I don't know what this is. But then he goes back in time and all the same jokes, all the same things. It's the first movie redone.
And that's what you have a lot.
That's
now.
all you have now. That's it.
So,
Is good movies being redone either super woke or being redone as these like, this is a better version of it. And it's like, no, it's not. No, it's not.
no, I don't.
Done
I can't.
better.
I can't think of one remake that comes to mind that's actually better than the original.
No.
I mean, I can think of like a two movie. You know, the second one is better than the first one. That happens.
It happens.
But
it's rare
like
nowadays.
Ong Bak 2. Not that that's a popular movie, but
Ong Bak 2 was the best Ong Bak in my opinion.
yeah, Ong Bak 1 was just like what? I wouldn't have watched 2 if you didn't already seen it and said it was
Ong
so
Bak
good.
1 was the main one I watched. When I watched that, I was like, that was a great movie. I tried to watch the others, and I was like, there's a reason somebody told me to watch Ong Bak 2. I see it now. These
Yeah.
other movies suck. Ong Bak 2 was a great movie.
Yeah.
Ong Bak 1, 3, and 4, whatever.
It's kung fu.
Whatever.
Well, not really kung fu, but it's a martial arts movie. I think it's like Taekwondo. He throws a lot of elbows and knees and stuff.
Elbows and knees. Yeah.
Shoulders and toes. So yeah, I mean, just first of all, tonight we have the Kona Brewing variety pack.
Yeah, we're bringing Kona over.
You got the Hanalei
Yes, this is
Island
to
IPA.
pay tribute to what's happening in Hawaii, mostly, probably.
Yeah, what was planned to happen? Oh, I mean, what
Basically, we're pouring one out for the homies. We get it. You guys were
Kona Brewing, good
you
good
guys
stuff.
Were Kona exposed.
But-
Kona taking advantage of.
Yeah, I mean, just to premise the whole idea of this topic, the way I see it, before technology and especially like audio editing, video editing, things like that, before it allowed us to, or before we were able to,
Go on.
come on, mascot,
Mascot. Up. Mascot. Up. Come on.
come on.
On the couch, mascot. Keep going.
He's camera shy.
Yeah,
But before we were able
he's not
to
used to this yet.
do all this stuff with editing, music and video, everything really, technology. It took a good artist that, recording was expensive, first of all, and you really had to be talented as an actor, entertainer, or musician, anything like that. You had to be talented enough to get the job done in a quality way based on your own fruition and, with limited reel, because they used to actually use microfilm and stuff like that. So it's a resource to actually expend to take a video. It's not just like a digital thing now. So you had only the things that were, only the people and the ideas and the concepts that were really good. And we'll say timeless in the case of this discussion, because those are the things that people still watch. These old movies and stuff like that, yeah, they look a little grainy, but they're always going to look as good as they did. Same thing with music, especially, like Led Zeppelin, all the classic rock artists, even like the Beatles, Rolling Stones, stuff like that. That all sounds just as good as it did. So, that music is still around for a reason. So what is that reason that makes something timeless? And, as things kind of progressed, I feel like, technology has helped fill that gap, auto-tune, CGI, I think everything under the sun that makes modern movies look and sound good. That kind of takes away from the ability to have something, a solid core concept to work on, And now you're basically seeing, like we talked about remakes, but also like music nowadays is basically just fad based. You know, like a song is not really meant to last more than 2 years or something. It's going to talk about some modern stuff that just happened. And then, it's just going to be kind of here today, gone tomorrow.
Yeah, because this 5 years from now, people are not going to they're not going to resonate with it because the message of the song was a specific moment to the times. And that's how everything is now. It's very rare that you hear something nowadays that is timeless. Other than stuff that's withstood time, it has proved what timelessness is. That's not what's being done.
Yeah.
It's not what's been being done. At least in the past 15 years. I mean, there's some things that may have skirted through, but realistically, even those things, they're not influential enough for me to remember.
I mean,
You could name plenty of songs, but it doesn't mean that everybody liked it.
I feel
But
like
the timeless songs are the songs that everybody liked. And that's the difference.
I feel like what timeless means to me in this sense is that, you have to have something that has, solid core concept or foundation. And that has to kind of speak to human nature, not just our modern culture, but like how humans have felt forever or, over the evolution of the last 100 years in modern society. That's kind of, we'll say that the past 100 years are assumed modern, timeless stuff like Beethoven and Mozart and stuff like that. That's timeless for a reason because it's intricate, well thought out, and it was revolutionary for the time. But like modern composers can kind of even almost do better than that now. So it's like, you have these historical timeless things for what they were because they defined the next generation of music or movies or art.
Because they were early. There wasn't
Yeah,
any
they were
other
the-
competition.
The Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Which you don't really have that now. I mean, you have a lot of like we said, like remakes or writing off of previous things that were popular. I think that the people that are producing a lot of this stuff, they basically have to make the decision whether they go with something new and original, which could be not received well, or they basically say, oh, well, it's a safe bet and it's a safe money play to just remake Aladdin or whatever. It's like, oh, we'll remake all the Disney movies. We'll just tear your childhood out from under you. It's like, because we can sell it.
Yeah.
So, there's no real incentive for new and original content anymore. It's just, what will capture the audience of the day. If you can still get someone to go pay $50 for a movie, considering the current prices of movie tickets, then, if the movie sucks, it doesn't matter. You still made your money, on to the next one.
And that's kind of what I was going to get to is just as an example, Sinead O'Connor, the song "Nothing Compares to You." That was
Nothing compares.
"Nothing Compares to You." 1.15 million views.
Sinead, that's an interesting name.
But this was like what, one of the saddest songs of the 90s, I think. I think it was like, I'm pretty sure it was 90s, and I'm pretty sure it was like labeled as the saddest song of the 90s because it's all about her mother passing away from cancer and her life without her mom. It's very, very sad.
Yeah.
It's extremely sad. But there's a reason why that song has become ultimately famous. And that's because it resonates with everybody. To me, timelessness is something that resonates with everybody. It's one of those things that, like Martin Luther King is timeless. Because even though it's been decades since he's passed away, when they play his speeches on air, you still feel it as if it's the first time he's telling it.
Yeah.
It's timeless. The words hold truth. The words hold volume. And the problem is nowadays the song might get you off, but the song doesn't keep you there. You're like, yeah, this song's awesome. 5 years later, you'll never hear that song again. But there's still certain bands that you listen to 10, 20 years later because they're timeless.
I mean, that's
AC/DC, fuck.
that's another good point too. Is outside of like consumable entertainment, things like that, you have influential people through history that the things they've said and done are timeless. And, you know, that could be kind of what we were saying about, you know, being the trailblazer or like, you know, the first person to really kind of push these ideas forward. But, you know, like people pick up the torch and they get on that same train, but they're not as influential. They're not as powerful. So, you know, like, you know, what makes a timeless person or event, you know, I guess it's kind of a vague thing to just say like one answer to that. But
I mean, for me personally, I think it's God. Personally, not to
a spiritual aspect or
shoehorn that in.
something that connects to your
not to shoehorn that in, but realistically, you look at things like Star Wars. Star Wars is timeless. But when you see the light side, the dark side, when you see all the symbolism, it's very religious.
Yeah, we actually studied Star Wars in English class as, you know, like the hero's journey. They like compared Star Wars to the Odyssey, where you have like the mentor, like Obi-Wan Kenobi or something, and it's like the bad, you know, the benevolent or malevolent, you know, force, like the Darth Vader, and then, you know, like he starts out like a low life dude, and like that's like a timeless formula.
Yeah.
Because everybody likes to follow the hero's journey.
Same as Harry Potter. You know, the people who make this stuff typically are somewhat religious. So not to get into that, but I mean, like clearly throughout time, the people who follow certain aspects of what they believe are what allow them to be timeless.
I mean,
and I'm speaking on that on behalf of like Martin Luther King, John F. Kennedy, like you name it, like the people who are timeless, not the celebrities you'll never hear of, but people like Martin Luther King that you'll never not hear of. The people who are heroes who gave their lives to make a difference in the world.
That's another
These
good...
are the people throughout time that are timeless. Mother Teresa, John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King.
So, common theme here. You brought up the idea of the spiritual aspect. I would also say relating to all those things you just said would be sacrifice. Whether that's with your life or, you know, working for other people, being a like Mother Teresa kind of thing. You know, that's a sacrifice there where, you know, she's
Gandhi was one I was going to say too.
Yeah.
And what did he do? Set himself on fire like a psycho. I'm just saying, sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, he didn't actually do that, but
some of the monks.
Some of them.
Those
Buddhists.
He might not.
The guy of Rage Against the Machine.
His buddies. His buddies did. But yeah, they raged against the machine too hard.
He's like, I'm too timeless. I can't burn myself because they're going to remember me. So you do it, and they'll associate it with me.
Yeah, you got that. Trust me. Like it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. It's just fire. But God, that still terrifies me. But yeah, no, I think most timelessness is a result of some type of belief, some type of foundation, and that's why certain songs, certain things throughout history have such an impact because it's a universal truth. It's something that we all agree with. It's something we all feel. It's something we all know.
That's a good way to say it. Universal truth.
Yeah. I mean, look at Moulin Rouge. Who doesn't like that movie?
Such a good movie.
Such a good movie. Who does not like that movie? I don't know anybody who doesn't like that movie.
It's been a while, but I remember watching it as a kid thinking it was a bit strange, but I think I would appreciate it now more.
Yeah, it was strange, but like when you understand the beauty of it, it is timeless. That's why Moulin Rouge, when it comes to musicals, is one of my favorite musicals throughout time because it is timeless. It's beautiful. It has a great message, and it's not something you can really argue with. You can say, well, it's a weird movie. It is. But the message it conveys is not lost in translation.
Yeah.
And as a result, it becomes timeless. It's one of those things that you hear, you feel, you love, you experience. It's not one of those things where you listen to it, you're like, this is cool, and you just listen to it in the car on the way to a party. This is something that was made for a specific reason
Yeah.
to get a certain idea across. And I think that's part of timelessness too, is it's not just truth, it's an element of idea. It's me expressing my perspective, and my perspective being clearly shown. If the perspective isn't clearly shown, it might be popular, it might be top of the charts for a few months, but it dies off when people realize there's not much in it. And while you get hyped up in it, you fall out because it doesn't offer anything.
That's actually an interesting aspect of it too. Is you brought up like musicals and things like that. You know, that's the kind of thing where, you know, if you go to a high school production of West Side Story or whatever, you know, it's not going to be a timeless, great performance that you're always going to remember and that you're going to think is so profound.
Yeah.
But the fact that, you know, it was at that point, it's still considered timeless to where, you know, you could watch some high schoolers perform it, and you're
Forget
still going to
Musical.
enjoy it.
Forget High School Musical. Let's go into
didn't say-
Shakespeare.
I didn't say
Let's
High
go.
School Musical.
Close enough. Close enough.
I was thinking high school doing a musical.
I know. Close enough. What I'm saying is like Shakespeare,
Yeah, like
You know,
Hamlet and all that. Shit.
Hamlet. When you see these things acted out at school,
Romeo and Juliet.
there's a reason why so much longer after it was done, people are still doing this in high schools today.
Yeah.
There's a reason. Because there's some universal truth, some universal understanding of this has weight to it. This teaches kids more than they're going to get in their high school experience. This will teach them what love is. This will teach them what trauma is. This will teach them what it is to go after what you want, not get it, and still try to pursue it.
Yeah. I mean,
Like this is what love is. This is what motivation is. It has so many elements, and just in this one play, that they constantly exercise it, not just making you read the books, but acting the plays out in school for your playwrights. You know, there's a reason they choose these plays. There's a reason Shakespeare is always going to be used throughout history, and that's because nothing has been done better. It is timeless. It got the perfect message across in the perfect way, and the only way to redo it and make it better is to just redo it and make it better. Not that anybody has that I know of. I've seen some interesting renditions.
I mean-
The one with the gangsters was pretty funny.
Oh yeah, the with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, what was that called?
It was Romeo and Juliet. I mean, it was just
With like lowriders and shit.
yeah, that movie like wasn't bad. It was goofy,
It
but
wasn't bad, but it was goofy.
yeah, they had like gold pimped out like
What did
desert
they do?
eagles
They-
and shit.
yeah,
haven't
yes,
seen
yeah, I
it.
remember.
But I feel like it's the only good kind of remake, honestly.
I
Yeah,
I
see,
actually agree with
if
that.
you're gonna
I-
remake something, make it with a twist. You know?
Honestly,
but a
I
twist that
honestly-
makes sense.
I honestly enjoyed that remake. I did.
yeah, it was a
It
good
wasn't
movie.
bad.
I mean,
it was a
it's
good movie.
Baseline like a good play or whatever.
The only thing is because it's placed in the future, you can't help but focus on the cars and focus on the style.
It takes away from the
It takes
themes.
away from the message. It does.
And I think that's kind of what helps make something timeless too, is that you have, you know, themes and archetypes that describe the human experience and paint the picture for somebody who might have been in that experience or something close to that. And it shows you like a shining light of this is how a human being, a noble, virtuous human being should behave and respond to these situations.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. That's very well said. That's what it is. The whole point of these movies, the whole point of Shakespeare, was to show you human nature. Gritty. This is what it is. This is it.
Yeah.
If you can argue it, argue it. But it's been so long, and nobody's argued with Shakespeare to say it's wrong in
Yeah,
any
it's
way.
like you have
Everybody
love
knows this
in
is
two warring clans. you know?
yeah, this is what it is. This is how it would play out. There's no other way to argue it. This is what it is. This is how it works. You know, you could be in a similar situation and realize your life will play out just like Shakespeare. Romeo and Juliet, it'll all play out the same.
Yeah.
Because this is the brutal truth of reality. And that's what's beautiful about these timeless things is you can look at them and you're like, this is true. No matter what era it is, these things are equally true all throughout time. And to me, that's what makes something timeless. Something that you can look at and say, even though this was 20 years ago, it's as true today as it was then.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's like, it sounds like a basic no doubt answer because time, it's like in the word, like something that lasts throughout time. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of why, you described it. And I feel like, now we've kind of, it's almost like our whole society has like ingested all of these like timeless things that have lasted.
Yes.
And now we're like, well, we gotta like,
we need more.
we need to do something different.
greater.
It's like, but we've covered all these magnificent bases that, humanity has defined itself on, and that's led to the creation of this culture that we export around the world, in America and Europe and the Western culture.
And that's why I think
But
Marvel
people are like,
was so popular.
Let's get away from that. Let's try something new. And it doesn't work.
That's why I
and
think
they go back to
Marvel-
remakes.
That's why I think Marvel was as popular as it was. It was this idea of like, here's superheroes. Here's a totally different thing. It's all made up, but we're going to put tons of money into special effects, and we're just going to give you the action you want with the message that kind of translates. It's going to be the same message, but we're going to boil it down to be basic, and we're just going to fill it with nothing but action to get you to the point.
I mean,
so that you're overstimulated, and then as you're overstimulated at the very end, here's that Romeo and Juliet moment. Okay, now you got it. Okay, good. Now, the next movie, you're like, I need a Romeo and Juliet kind of thing because I'm used to crazy action. I'm used to the intensities. And I'm also used to the beautiful intricacies of the movie and human life and all this stuff and how everything relates. And I'm expecting so much more. And then all these other side companies are going, we're going to take this movie that you loved, basically going to recreate it.
So, we're going to buy Spider-Man now. We're going to try to redo Spider-Man like we want to do it.
That's going to be a multiverse.
Then you have 4 Spider-Mans, and then you end up having to make a movie that acknowledges them all in a multiverse thing, which was cool. But I wanted to get back to comic books is actually a good example because, there's actually a lot of good writing in comic books. People don't really, not all of them, like some of them are kind of basic, but like, The Watchmen, obviously, best graphic novel that I think exists. Argue with me if you want. Don't use Mao. That's not a good one. But no, I mean, you have actually good writing in there, but then at the same time, all these movies and stuff, those are actually based off of comic book series that like the story was already there. And like Stan Lee and whoever, helped create DC and like bring these comics out, they were way ahead of their time. They were like, they had all this stuff about the multiverse and like all these sci-fi explanations for stuff that like you see in the movie now and you think people just made it up, but like
It's been around.
that's just based on something that was done over the past 50 years. That's most of the Marvel stuff is not new concepts. That was all in the originals.
And I would argue certain things like Star Wars, The Notebook, all these different types of movies all have characteristics of either the Bible or of Shakespeare or of these past writers and novelists. And as a result, you get these great classics nowadays, but you can always attribute them to something that's almost identical in the past. So even if you don't know that it was made to be something from that, a lot of these great things are, like I said, Star Wars, a lot of these great things that are timeless, that have cult followings. If you actually look at them, you look at light side, dark side. The dark side is like more manipulative, more controlling, and the light side is more
power.
Yeah, and the light side is the opposite. It's like one is physical, one is spiritual. It's like when you look at these things and you see them for what they are, you realize this is something that's been going on all throughout time. These stories are constantly repeating, whether it's Harry Potter, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, you name it. They all follow the same kind of structure and storyline.
And yeah, we talked about, kind of the spiritual aspect helps make something timeless, but even from a parallel thought process, just biblical themes, like going with the biblical theme or something that references a Bible or a name or a place or some type of story in the Bible, that's like a pretty safe bet for creating something timeless, because that's like one of the most timeless texts that we have.
It's the most timeless text.
Yeah. I mean, maybe
and
like
I think that's where most of the stuff comes
Hammurabi's Code or something before that, but like you don't have much before that, that has really, left that much of an impact. So all of these things draw upon, you're right, like the spiritual aspect, because, the Bible
it's what
obviously
connects to everybody.
Yeah.
When you sit there and you see Romeo and Juliet, it doesn't matter whether or not you know what it is. Every person's affected the same. When you see two people love each other, and you see that their families won't allow them, and it's life or death. Like this is it. You don't get this person. You go, well, if I don't get this person, I don't want to be here. Do what you got to do. And that person ends up killing themselves, and it doesn't work. Or they try. What was the story? He tried to kill himself to fake dead. But then when Juliet found him, she thought he was actually dead. So she took the poison and killed herself, but he came back.
I think they both drank the poison.
They both drank the poison and died at the same time, right?
The guy, Romeo, died he did it because he couldn't live without her, and then she did it because she couldn't live without him.
But she realized there was enough poison and killed and stabbed herself.
Yep, that's it. That's it.
Why do I remember him?
She tried to kiss his lips to get the poison
I thought
off.
he came back like Jesus.
No.
And he was like, she's dead now. I fucked up.
Not that bit biblical of theme.
Okay, I got a little carried away there.
I mean, that's another good point too. It's like
I've...
you look at the Bible and what makes it timeless. They do stories about like, goats and situations for payment. Like you paid somebody to do this, and then they were lazy or something. So then, like you told the guards, and then the guards were going to kill him, but then you felt bad. So, like that's a bullshit Bible story. I don't know if that's real or not, but it's that kind of stuff where it's like, okay, that story kind of still holds up today. Maybe it's not a goat, maybe it's a car or something,
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's...
It still translates.
Yeah. And that's, I guess in a way you almost have to create something that is metaphorical, like your metaphor has to be solid and, applied to the past as well as the future.
Yes. And that's a good way to say it. It's one of those things you have to resonate with, regardless of the times. So, like, when you see goat and stuff like that, you can easily put together what it means. When you see things like Martin Luther King, and his whole speech was like, he wasn't saying, like, treat me equal, treat me like a person. He wasn't saying that. He didn't say anything like that. He said, I just want to see my kids playing with your kids. I want to see my kids getting along with. All I want is to see my kids getting along with your kids.
Yeah.
And that spoke to people. People felt that. I mean, obviously the speech was long. The speech was heavy. There's a reason it's timeless. There's a reason he's timeless. But the biggest part to me, the thing that stood out the most to me, was him saying, I just want all of us to get along. And nobody can argue that. To argue that, you would have to be a bad person. People realized when he said that, people naturally realized, well, I'm a bad person if I don't want to see the same thing.
Yeah, honestly, I just had a random thought, and it might be a little switching to a different part of entertainment.
He hates Martin Luther King, by the way.
But I mean, if you look at the progression of like hip hop,
yes,
there's a reason why like those first pioneers, like Tupac, Biggie, Eminem, Jay-Z, like all these early guys.
Knight. Yeah, no,
they were talking like, like I'm cool, I'm a thug or whatever, but it was all about like the come up and the struggle. And now rap and hip hop is more about like, I got all this shit, like
They don't
I'm
talk about
I'm
the
on
struggle,
top, so it's
really.
not relatable.
Yeah.
And like people want to follow the hero's journey, right? They want to be like, okay, this is somebody who made it from poverty and struggle and gang life, and he's painting a picture for me that I can relate to my life, even though I'm not a thug or a gang member or whatever. I've never been shot at, but I've been in these situations. I still feel like I'm down. I still need to work to where I want to be. Where now, like, all hip hop is basically like,
It's
I made it, like,
yeah.
I
It's
get
all-
what I
I'm
want.
already
I do
here.
drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
I caved to the music industry. I got all this money. Will you like me now?
yeah, people want to be that, but you're not giving them an experience to look at and compare to their own lives.
Yeah, you see
Influencing
people.
people in a bad way.
I'm sorry.
I said it's influencing people in a bad way.
Yeah, I mean that
It
too.
is.
It's actually doing the opposite of what a timeless thing would do.
Yeah.
It's like when you look at Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy became famous because of YouTube. When everybody knows, anybody watching this who wants to argue with me, you all already know that Soldier Boy went back to his area to flex on his area and be like, I'm back to the community. And they kicked him out. They were like, hey, we're about to fuck you up. Get out of here now.
Yeah.
And he ran. He ran from his own hometown because nobody wanted nothing to do with him. Because he never actually gave back. He never actually did shit. He never actually overcame. And that's what it comes down to.
And where is he now? Nobody knows. It's just
Nobody knows. I
Not
know.
timeless enough to last.
Exactly. Nobody knows where he's coming from. I mean, like, Soldier above in that hole, watch me crank it, watch me roll. Hey, that shit was huge. Watch me, yo. Now watch me, yo. That shit was huge for months, for like a full year. He was one of the biggest artists, but he fell off. He wasn't timeless. He was one of the biggest people who captivated and took everybody's attention for a year and then was gone.
Yeah.
And now I feel like when it comes to the timeless conversation, that's what we need to acknowledge as a group, as people, is what I'm listening to just something that gets me by? Is what I'm listening to just something that's popular right now? Or is what I'm listening to something that actually helps me? It's actually trying to teach me. When you hear these timeless things like Shakespeare's trying to tell you a story about life and love. That's what he's trying to tell you. And that's why it never dies, because that story will always teach you the same thing, no matter what time of the year it is.
Yeah.
You'll always get the same message.
Because humans are always going to act that way.
Exactly. It's
They're always
timeless.
going to betray each other and,
There's truth.
and long for things they don't have. It's all worked into this fabric of a life experience. And yeah, the things that last are the ones that hold up, to that are true to that, and then that kind of hold up against the scrutiny. And then things like now in the modern world, a lot of things are going out of style, so to speak. Things are becoming dated, and their timelessness is being eroded. Kind of like, I guess, George Washington's statues or something. That doesn't make sense to me. But, it's like people are trying to like kind of erode some of this stuff because it's not relevant anymore. But like, something that's truly timeless is, you can't erode it. Even if you try to, there's still the blatant fact that this still represents people's lives.
Yeah.
Basic emotions and stuff like that. Or, like betrayal, love, things like that we just talked about.
Yeah, but and that's the big thing, is I think that's what makes timelessness, is the things that we can always relate to, the things we always agree with. Not you don't make a movie and people are like, well, I didn't agree with this part. When have you ever heard that about Shakespeare? Well, I think that this part was over dramatized. Which part? It's Shakespeare. It's Romeo and Juliet. Which part was over dramatized? Nobody says that. It's perfectly done. It's done so well that it's still being done.
Yeah.
It's done so well that people have tried to recreate it multiple times throughout history with different levels of time to try to make it more relevant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as strong as the Bible in some aspects, when it comes to a love story and time. I mean, it's that simple. Like, people are.
I mean, yeah, there's a reason why parents play Mozart for their babies and not the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, the Red Hot Chili Peppers are good and they make some beautiful music.
They're great.
But it's
not
not
for baby.
It's not like,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess, you know, the baby might learn a few things if he's listening to the Chili Peppers, but you know,
Papa was a cop and mom was a hippie. I get it. I felt that as a baby. I felt that.
yeah, just, you know, sitting here under the bridge where I was abandoned
They got some
in a
back.
dumpster. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, like you think about music and stuff like that, like a lot of the older classical music, or not classical, but like kind of our more modern age, like since the 60s and stuff. Mainly, I guess, rock and roll and all the offshoots that kind of evolved over time. A lot of that music just like sounds good, like audio wise. It's pleasing to the ear. Whereas now music is more like, you know, maybe a lot of like, maybe it's like message based or like word based or like kind of like fad. Like it's like trying to say something, or, you know, it just doesn't like sound as good.
I think there's also just a lack of talent with everything. There's just not enough creative people anymore that are actually have good writing or good, like, people don't even really play instruments anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that's
It's
another.
all on the computer.
That's the flip side too. It's like, if you don't have talent, we're just going to make it sound really good and put a lot of production
That's
into
why
it.
we have so many industry plants.
And that's what it's kind of become. It's like, it's no longer some guy with his keyboard and guitar. It's a company that says, we know what sounds good. We have the studio. We have everything. You sing the music. We'll make the beat. Just come up with the lyrics. Actually, we got a team to do that for you. You're on our label. We'll do everything. You just learn the choreography.
Which is,
And that's what it's become.
yeah,
The last time one of the last concerts I went to, not one of the last ones, it was a while back, but it was Deftones, Ghost, and Avenged Sevenfold.
I used to love Avenged Sevenfold.
Now,
I still do.
I went there for Avenged Sevenfold. Now, I love Deftones.
Yeah.
Deftones gave the best performance. That's what sucks. They weren't even that big at the time. This is like close to 10 years ago, 8-9 years ago. And these guys gave the best performance of the night. Like, they were about it. You felt it. You were like, okay, I'm not even too familiar, just enough to be like, I'm feeling this. I'm about it. I like you guys. Then Avenged Sevenfold went up, and it was just fireworks and all this stuff. There was no energy. Their songs did not sound like their songs. It was like, this is like, you guys clearly have way more of a budget than any of the other bands tonight. That's why you're last.
Yeah.
But even though you have double the budget of all these guys, your energy is half of theirs. So you guys got the better show, yes. But the experience is half of that. And that's what timelessness is it's an experience. When you read Romeo and Juliet, you get an experience. There's this feeling of understanding where you're like, I can relate to this. Even though I haven't been through this scenario, I can relate to this in one way or another. Like, you're reading the Bible, you know, you're like, I'm feeling things that, like, maybe I haven't gone through, but I see how this has worked in my life. Or I see how this is working in other people's lives around me. Like, you see it. And to me, that's the greatest part of what is timeless, is that experience, that feeling of connection, whether you've experienced that moment or not. A video, a movie, a song can get you to experience something that somebody else is going through in such a deep way that helps you understand. Now, I'm not talking about a sad song where you're like, well, yeah, I feel that. Anybody can reflect and relate to some sad bullshit.
Well, the sad songs now they're not metaphorical or
They're not anything.
they don't apply to a wide range of interpretations. They're so descriptive and like they're very on the nose. Like, this is what happened to me, and I got pissed, and now I hate you or whatever. It's
old
like
sad songs.
it's like it's
old
very
good sad songs. Even in our
they
time, where
use
things like
metaphors and similes,
like 21 Pilots, bands like that, when they first started, before they got in the record industry, signed onto the label and fucking ruined their whole career and sounded like shit. Before they did that, they actually had like metaphorical things that resonated, that you felt. This was a band that could have, in my opinion, 21 Pilots could have become timeless. I believe that. But as soon as their last
that one
album,
song is timeless to me, though.
which one?
The twisting the kaleidoscope.
Between both of my eyes. Whoa!
That's a great
Yeah,
song.
it's an amazing song. But all their early shit was amazing. It was all great. I remember them saying in an interview, the reason we wear masks at our concerts is because we want people to relate to our music and not to us.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. You don't see that shit anywhere.
I mean, you see that with a lot of artists that spend their come up writing good music that's all based on their own experiences, and they have a breakout album, or like their first 2 albums are really good, and then they have to kind of live up to the hype, and they have all the producers and things helping to make them succeed, but it's just the human aspect has been eroded from it, and they're just it's like a remake. They're trying to remake the original sound, which came from the adversity of getting to where they are. And actually, what you said about Avenged Sevenfold and like the production level kind of made me have another thought too. And it's like, if you have if you achieve a certain level as an artist, you have backing, you have production, you have a lot of money behind you. Oh. So everything you create is going to be sifted through. It's going to be pumped up with, producers and everything to make it sound and look good. And you basically, like,
They're not going to improve what you did ever. They're just going to hype it up.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised that, it's like, I guess I am, like, people that are striking now in the like the writing industry for movies and television.
Yeah,
it's like, I'd rather have an AI do it now, because you guys have just been putting out shit. Yeah.
So
you have all this money, all the money in the world, but like, tell me one original movie or maybe not show. Shows have been kind of,
but
good.
One original movie that's been done the past 5 years.
That's not based on a book.
Yeah.
Or a movie that was made.
We had Step Brothers, Pineapple Express. We had good original funny movies.
But yeah,
what comedies do we have anymore?
Yeah, there's none.
They all have Kevin Hart and The Rock in them, dude.
It's like, we're going to get people who we've deemed the funny people and put them in there, and that's what makes it the funny movie. I don't give a fuck. I want a funny movie. Yeah. Not funny people. I want a funny movie.
Right, timeless comedies.
I want Cheech and Chong Up and Smoke.
All right. Top 3 timeless comedies.
Colleen, have you seen
I'm gonna
Cheech and Chong Up and Smoke?
No, I haven't watched any of those. I know.
All right, well that's
I work
on the
at a
list
theater
now.
And this on Culture.
It's on the list.
All right.
That is a timeless movie.
So comedies are a little.
That is timeless.
I would put comedies in.
Go ahead and hit number 3 and play that movie.
I don't think we can do that.
That's okay. All right, no, you're right. You're right. We don't have the rights. Go on.
Yeah, we'd get in trouble.
All right, I would say that comedy is it's almost a little bit separated from the timelessness, because it is so related to the times. But all right, two timeless comedies, and maybe you can help me think of some other ones.
Okay, I'm down.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Boom.
I love that movie.
I was gonna say Wedding Crashers and The Hangover were like 2 that came to mind.
Okay.
The Hangover's good.
Definitely Wedding Crashers, though.
I would. I mean, that's why I said Step Brothers. It's goofy, it's stupid,
It's a
but
good one, too.
there's nothing else comparable to it. How about Knocked Up?
I never saw that.
I don't know.
Pineapple Express.
Half Baked.
Okay, Half Baked.
Half Baked over
Half-Baked.
Pineapple Express.
Have you seen Half Baked?
No.
Jesus,
I have
Mary
not,
Jo.
I'm so sorry.
She has seen none of the iconic
I know, I really haven't.
comedic movies ever. These are the funniest movies throughout time, and she has not seen any of them.
Tropic Thunder?
Oh no.
Oh shit,
that one.
we are frozen in time. Speaking of time, we are frozen within it.
What
Go ahead
is
and hit
that?
number 2. Hit number 2. That's my girlfriend Colleen. Go ahead and hit number 1 again.
Oh no.
All
we're
right, so
still
we are
frozen.
frozen in time.
Is there anything I can do?
Go to down at the bottom left where it says scenes.
Yeah.
Scroll
yes.
down. Wait. Okay. There's no scroll. Go to.
Oh no, there is a scroll.
Okay. Go to camera. See if you can find the camera one. Camera 4K. Yeah.
One.
Yeah. Sorry, they couldn't hear us this whole time after
no.
after switching.
As far as my experience goes, it doesn't matter what camera it is. Once the camera freezes, the camera just freezes.
All right, guys.
So,
So we
we're
are
gonna-
having some technical difficulties.
We are.
Here.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I think.
Yeah. Let's just wrap it up.
Only because this is super awkward, and at least in this still frame, we're facing each other. So
Just pretend it'll be a
pretend this is a timeless
we're in a timeless
moment.
pose.
Thank you.
You know,
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
like I look like the thinker. You know.
I'm looking at you like, you think so too? And you're like, I do. Like, this is a timeless moment. This is,
Timeless moment.
you think that we fucked up, but realistically, this is all.
It was all
part of our
intentional.
plan. Yes, sir. This just kind of elaborates
But-
what we've been saying the whole time. This is the highlighter of our points right here. Not to mention the all yellow that this handsome devil's wearing.
Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Not a timeless song, but it does get stuck in your head for a timeless amount of time.
Somewhat timeless. I hate that
Yeah,
song. but
there's
damn,
the
does
opposite.
that shit not
If you want to
go
make
away,
something
bro.
timeless, it just like drill into people's head and they can't get
Black and
get it out
yellow,
of their
black
head.
and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. Yeah, You know what it is. Everything I do, yeah, I do it big. Dude, those are timeless lyrics. Yeah.
Amazing.
You know what it is. Everything I do it big. Come on, guys.
Great rhyme.
I need you guys to back me up on this. I know I'm frozen in time, but I want that to be my theme song to really push my points ahead. So whenever this goes viral, I really want that theme song like portrayed behind me in this
Play it.
this
at your
still
funeral.
timeless moment.
I want the song Black and Yellow to be played at my funeral.
That makes sense. I wouldn't argue that. I get it. I get it.
But yeah, I
Big
guess
keg, all the beer you can drink, black and yellow, black and yellow.
I mean we're still technically audio. We could wrap it up for another few minutes. We're almost at an hour, so I don't know. I
We're
mean,
at 53 minutes.
All right, so let's end it. Let's wrap up with our ending points. Let's make it simple.
yeah.
I'll start off on the basics of, I think timelessness is very simple. I think when you have all these different things like from Shakespeare, Martin Luther King, when you have all these examples throughout time that everybody always agrees with, and you're a bad person if you don't agree with it. It's that simple.
Like-
When the majority says, hey, this is what's right, whether we agree with it or not, this is what's right.
I mean, that's a good point too. Like a lot of this stuff is meant to guide you in a certain way that avoids pain,
It's meant to
the
help.
pain of life.
Timelessness is meant to help you. Nothing compares. That song is amazing.
Or at least
and
help
the
you
whole
make sense
point
of
is to
things.
say, like, hey, when your mom passed away and people try to tell you this and that and blah, 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 nothing will compare to you losing your mom. Nothing compares to it. That's what it is.
Yeah, everybody has a
that
mom.
Simple. Everybody
Yeah,
has a
that's-
mom. And that's why that song blew up, because she was like, I lost my mom, and the doctor was telling me just go on with your life. Okay, so I started sleeping around and doing all this stuff, and I started living my life as if my mom could not guide me. So I made a lot of mistakes because I didn't have my mom. Because the doctor was like, do what you want.
Kind of like somebody that doesn't have a mom from the beginning.
Yeah, it's like there's nobody can give me advice like my mom did. I started fucking up and doing wrong things because I didn't have my mom to give me the advice. So I don't care what these people are telling me. I don't care what the world's telling me. I have lost my mom, and that was the only person who gave me real advice. And when you hear that song and hear that and feel that, you're like, that's true. Your mom and your father are the two people who are going to give you the realest advice you'll ever get in your life, period.
Yeah.
So when you hear songs that kind of emphasize the same thing, that's what timelessness is. It is, like you said, it's people trying to guide you to the answer and kind of help you. You know, try to get you to avoid the shit that they went through.
Yeah.
While other shit that's not timeless just gets you into what they're doing. That's the difference.
Yeah, man, that's well said. Just kind of for a closing thoughts for me, I'm gonna kind of put some of the themes and stuff that we called out. You know, timeless things, they usually have a spiritual aspect to them. In a lot of cases, like a biblical relation. They help describe the human experience and universal truths. And they mean the same thing for people in the past and people in the future. Like, you know, like anything you see from like the 90s where people are using beepers and stuff, you know, like that's not a timeless experience, because people are just gonna be like, oh, what the fuck is that? You know?
Well, was somebody trying to get a call quicker than they could have gotten it before? There's no meaning. There's no message. That's
Yeah.
why beepers fell off. It's not timeless.
I mean, even anything that uses the internet or technology as a symbol of whatever it, you know, as a main point of whatever it is, that's not necessarily a timeless thing. You know, you want things that paint human emotions and, you know, relate to experiences. Like the same thing, you look at a painting, the same thing that makes that painting timeless is the same thing that makes Mozart timeless, or Shakespeare, or all these things. And that is the roots of what makes a long-lasting piece of content or entertainment.
a general understanding.
Yeah.
Like
And it's-
something everybody agrees to. That defines the royalty of it.
Yeah.
It's, hey, we all agreed that this says the same thing, and everybody wants it. That's what makes something art timeless. That's what makes art worth what it is. When everybody says we all see the same thing in this.
Yeah.
And this is at least the first painting that we know of that has said this. I want it. That's what defines the value. It's not some goofy bullshit. It's not nonsense. It's not some, look at all the colors. It's what you feel, and it's what everybody agrees it's saying that makes you want to spend the money over everybody else, because you're like, they're right.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it says, and this is the only thing that says it. That's what makes art worth anything.
Well said. We're right at. Let's keep this video under the 1 hour mark. But thanks for watching, guys. If you're going to, definitely like and follow the channel, and just go consume some timeless entertainment.
Yeah, don't forget
Take a
to
deep dive.
like and subscribe. But more importantly, we will be doing the open call line. You always have the open chat. If there's anything you want to say to either support what we're saying or go against what we're saying, like I said, Meta Perspective Podcast is not meta without your perspective.
All right, and let's
So we
hit that
want
sexy
everything.
intro before we go out.
Meta Perspective.